Here's what we learn how to make in this video. Hello there, my inspirations. My name is Inspirasper, and today I'm going to walk you through how you can make a drum and bass style track in Ableton Live. I usually don't make this genre of music, but I was inspired from energetic video game soundtracks, say Rocket League or Beat Saber, for example. And I figured it'd be fun to walk you through the track you heard at the beginning of this video and break it down layer by layer, just dissect what elements are where and how you can make something similar yourself. But real quick, before we get into the meat of this video, I wanted to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community for creators, and viewers of my channel will love what they have to offer. Let's face it, if you've landed on this video, you're the type of person looking to learn. Now, you could learn how to make an awesome video game inspired drum and bass track by following along with some random guy's tutorial on the internet. Or you could learn how to make music from certified professionals. And you can do so by checking out one of the more than 25,000 classes Skillshare has to offer on topics such as music, design, technology, and more. Skillshare's premium membership gives you unlimited access, so you can join whichever community you so desire, drop in and out of lessons, and overall, master exactly what it is you've set out to learn. Plus, Skillshare is super affordable. An annual subscription comes down to be less than $10 a month. And on top of that, if you use the link in the description below, you can get a 2-month free trial. So join the more than 7 million creators learning with Skillshare today. Whether you want to fuel your curiosity, creativity, or even career, Skillshare is the perfect place to keep you learning and thriving in today's modern world. Thank you so much for supporting this video and channel, Skillshare. Now, let's jump back into learning how to make this drum and bass style track. First things first, in Ableton Live, let's set our BPM to 155. Drum and bass tracks tend to be very energetic, very fast-paced. Feel free to even bump this up a little bit higher. This is just what I chose. This is my personal preference. Now, the first thing I like to break down is our layer of percussion. I think at the meat of a drum and bass track, at the very, very core, is the drums. Here's my layer of percussion that will break down track by track. So there are a few things going on here. Let's start first with just our layer of kicks. This is just 2 kick drum samples stacked on top of each other. If you don't know what a sample is, just think of it as a little short audio clip. In this case, I have 2 samples, one right here and another one. These 2 are playing on top of each other at the same time to the following rhythm. I first made this loop by making my samples hit every half bar. From here, you just take every other kick and move it over by, what would this be, 1/8 of a bar, and you're left with this. This is complemented with my layer of snares, which is the same thing. This is just a MIDI track with a bunch of samples stacked on top of each other. In this case, I have 3 snare samples. And I just arranged these also hitting every half bar, but offset by 1/4, essentially filling in the blank space where the kicks aren't hitting, but at a consistent rhythm. Going along with this, I also added in a layer of hi-hats. These hit at a fairly consistent rhythm, except for at the end of every bar, and they hit pretty fast. They're pretty snappy. So altogether, on top of my kicks, on top of my snares, one thing I do that you may notice at the end of every bar, with this very fast hi-hat roll, I also adjust the pitch of my hi-hats. So most of the way up until these 2 bars, up until right about here, and I raise my pitch going up. The difference is between just a rapid fire like this with no pitch adjustment, which is fine, but sounds kinda stale when compared to this pitch rise right here. And conversely, at the very end of this loop, I have it pitch shifting downwards. I also have a layer of rides, of cymbals. When added into the mix with our kicks, our snares, and our hi-hats, just adds another subtle little layer. I also added in a reversed snare, leading up into every fourth snare. This builds tension, and again adds a little bit more variety and uniqueness to the drums. Same concept with my reversed snares, I also add in a reversed kick at the end of every 2 bars. At the end of every 4 bars, I added in some claps-esque, these are more like snares, I suppose. All together now, my layer of percussion sounds like this. Next, we can get into our layer of chords. This is where we get the melodics of this track, the actual melody-esque, the music theory behind this track. I stacked 3 layers of chords on top of each other, which all had this chord progression. These layer of chords are mostly super saws, these big, wide, detuned stack of notes that you hear. They take up a very wide range of frequencies. One thing you'll mostly hear is they also take up a lot of the high frequencies. That's kind of the white noise, staticky sound you hear. I have another layer on top of that. And then I also have a third one down here. Now, I grouped all of these layers together, and one thing that I think is very important is this has a significant amount of sidechain. You'll notice that the sound bobs up and down in volume. I did this with the help of an LFO tool, which is shaped like this. This is going at 1/4 of a bar, and this is attached to the volume, the gain of these layers. I also have some sidechain to my drums. This basically means every time my kick or my snare play, these layers will duck in volume as well. So altogether with my percussion, that sounds like it's coming together pretty nicely. But again, without any of this side chaining, this track doesn't quite come to life as much. Next, let's get into our layer of bass. Altogether, my layer of bass sounds like this. These are layers of MIDI that are mostly based off of my stack of chords. One thing you'll notice is these layers also have that similar style of sidechain, that bouncing up and down. These are played in unison with our chords, so altogether we have one uniform feeling sound. Now, our stack of bass is comprised of a few layers, 2 of which are these Reese-style bass lines, which are 2 layers that sound like this. And this. Now, these have been EQ'd to mostly take up some of the mid-range frequencies. You'll notice they don't have many of the low ends beyond, say, about 200 hertz. We have 2 more layers of our bass line, which are our subs, one of which sounds like this, and another that sounds like this. Now these are the low ends. This is the gritty bass line. This is the punch of our entire track. These fill in the frequencies that our Reese did not. And then I added in one more layer of bass line, which I think adds a good bit of excitement to the track. This is, I think, what gives it a futuristic video game feel. Similar to the Reese, this also takes up mostly the mid-range frequencies, but also a good bit of the highs as well. So then again, altogether our bass line sounds like this. Then, when mixed in with the rest of our track, that's sounding pretty fun so far. I'm liking that. Next, let's add in the layer of leads. My goal with the leads was to drive a melody onto this track, something that you would whistle to or hum along, but then also convey the emotion that I wanted in this track. In this case, I wanted to give it that video game vibe. So here is our layer of leads. And there's a good bit going on here, so let's break this down layer by layer. My melody looks like this. I originally started this by just taking my bass line for the most part, copying this MIDI clip onto a new instance of Serum, a new MIDI track, and then I just kind of tweaked it from there. I moved some notes up and down, nothing too crazy. Once I had the general melody, the actual notes in place, that's when I changed their rhythm. So one thing you'll see here at the very beginning, for example, is this sort of an arpeggiator. Or over here at this point, I cut off my notes and made 2 very short notes rather than 1 elongated note, just to kind of switch it up. I have another layer of leads right here. I think these are really one of the main layers of leads that you hear. This, I believe, was a preset I found from a cymatics pack, which for the record is significantly processed. Audio effects you may want to consider include EQing. I don't want any low ends because that's where my bass is gonna be. Consider adding in some compression, some reverb, a camel crusher to saturate the sound, and then ultimately you're left with this final sound. One thing I also did, similar to how I tackled our layer of hi-hats, is I also added in a pitch bend. We have another layer of leads right here. And we have a big stack here of what I called my chiptune layers. This was to drive home that video game soundtrack feel that I wanted. I grouped these together and I added an auto filter on top of all of these layer of chiptune sounds, just to kind of duck the sound in and out, give the track some breathing room and some life. All together now, my layer of leads sound like this. Then, when mixed in with the rest of our track, one last layer I went to adding in to wrap up this drop was just a group of miscellaneous sound effects, one of them being a stack of white noise. White noise is a great idea to add into any track if you really just want to fill out your song, make it sound full. Which just matches our side chaining with our chords and our bass line. Otherwise, we have other miscellaneous sound effects such as downfalls, crashes, white noises of the sort, and risers, which are the opposite, just to build up and break down the tension of the drop. We also have a layer of crowds cheering. This serves a similar effect to our layer of white noise. Again, just static sound to fill in frequencies in your track. So altogether, my stack of sound effects sounds like this. Which, when mixed in with the rest of our track, sounds like this. And that more or less does it. That's at least the very basics, maybe something to inspire you, get you off the ground to make something similar, to make your own drum and bass style track. From here, you can also go and add in different styles of your drop. For example, we have our energetic drum and bass style drop, but we can also lead that into a halftime style. And that'll do it for this video. What did you guys think of this tutorial? Are there any other genres you're curious yourself that you want me to teach you to make a video about? Leave a comment, let me know. As always, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.